Legalization of medical marijuana and subsequently recreational marijuana brings out a spectrum of positives and negatives and also opinions on the matter. Opinions aside, looking at actual data can give us a glimpse into trends that are present after said legalizations. In this project, Tatum Hill analyzes crime data in Denver County, Colorado from 2011 to 2015 to determine if there has been an increase in nonviolent crimes since the legalization of recreational marijuana. Tatum.
Thank you, John. Hello everyone, and thank you for attending. So this is our last class together as the 2016 cohort. It's crazy. It's been a long year, but it's been good. So we're all going to be Wildcats for life, some of us twice over. So I'm going to get started with my presentation. So high times in Denver. So my analysis questions for my project was, has the legalization of marijuana in Denver County, Colorado influenced marijuana-related nonviolent crime rate? I'm going to look specifically at dispensary locations, marijuana dispensary locations, marijuana-related nonviolent crimes. And I'm going to go into definitions. So, nonviolent crimes, for some of you who may not know, the Bureau of Justice states it as the property, drug, and public order offense which do not involve or threat of harm or an actual attack upon a victim. It is typically the most frequently identified nonviolent crimes involved drug trafficking, drug possession, burglary, and larceny. So my next definitions are the marijuana crimes, which are marijuana selling, cultivation, and possession. Then there was a new law that was enacted by the Colorado legislation, which is the marijuana DUID crimes, which is DUID is the driving under the influence of drugs, which can be marijuana only or can include alcohol in combination with drugs, not only in the erratic driving, but also the subsequent evidence that the subject was under the influence of marijuana confirms the causation factor. So how do they know that they were influenced by marijuana? So they will they set a limit of 5 nanograms of THC, which is the tetrahydrocannabinoid, per milliliter of bud, at which point a person driving would be considered driving under the influence of drugs. So my roadmap of where we're going. So I'm going to do a hotspot analysis, and then I did a chi-square, followed up by a hotspot / ACS overlay, which is the American Community Survey American Community Survey data, but I'm going to be specifically looking at median household income, and then my results and conclusions. So this is the study area, Denver County, Colorado. Many of you may know it, many of you may not know it. It's an awesome city. It's the Mile High City. There's an actual step at the state capitol that is 1 mile above sea level. There's a lot of great recreations. It's got the second nation largest performance arts. So just a little background information. And it is a very green city. Finally. So, a little bit of background information about all the laws that were changed, or not changed, have come into effect. So, in November 2000, Amendment 20 passed. Amendment 20 allowed qualified patients and caregivers of patients to possess up to 2 ounces of marijuana and grow up to 6 plants. Then, from 2000 to 2008, there were no legal medical dispensaries. So, the only way a patient was able to possess marijuana or get it was through their caregiver or by them growing it. Then in 2009, 500 licensed medical dispensaries were established. And a little bit more background information. In November 2012, Amendment 64 passed, legalizing recreational marijuana for any persons over the age of 21 with a valid government-issued license, and they can possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana and grow up to 6 plants as well. Then in January 2014, recreational marijuana businesses became operational, which were allowed to sell any form of marijuana, including edibles, and have cultivation operations. So these are the marijuana dispensaries in Denver County to date. I got the data back in August, so if any of them have moved or changed, not quite there, but for the most part, this is up to date. And then this colorful map is marijuana nonviolent crimes from 2011 to 2015. Each colored dot is per year of the crimes. As you can see, there is a lot of dots. So to break down those dots a little bit, I did a graph. So each one of these is a year and the total crimes per year. The green is crimes with marijuana, and then the blue is traffic accidents with DUID marijuana. Now, I just want to make a side note that while gathering this data, I was in contact with the Denver Police Department, and they stated that they had gone through numerous reporting changes. So in 2008, it changed to the National Incident-Based Reporting. Then again, in 2013, it changed to the Unified Summons and Complaint Process. So the data ended up being skewed from this information, since they stated that the data could have increased crimes tremendously, but I wasn't quite sure what the data looked like before then or how much it skewed it. And then also, the reason why my analysis only goes back to 2011 is because Denver PD doesn't have anything prior to 2011 for me to actively get as far as data. So my analysis, I was hoping to go back as far as 99 before any formal legalization to see a trend, but got to work with what I have. So just to give you an idea of where the crimes occurred, again, next up I'm going to show you my hotspot analysis. So this is my hotspot analysis for 2011. This is an optimized hotspot analysis that I did, and it identifies statistically significant spatial clusters of high values, which are the red hotspots, and significantly low values, which are the cold spots or blue. And I have all the years. Then by 2015, it gets small. This is just an analysis and it's raster based, so I'm not really quite sure why it shrunk so much, so I did more analysis. My next one was the chi-square to see if there's a relationship between marijuana crimes and dispensaries, to see what's going on. So I did two chi-squares. So my first one, the null hypothesis is marijuana crimes are random in regards to dispensary locations. And my results from my chi-square are here, and the chi-square is right down there. So as you can see, it's a pretty large number. So I had 6 degrees of freedom, and I did an alpha of 0.05, which left me with a significance of 12.5, which allowed me to reject the null hypothesis since there was such a large difference in numbers. And my next chi-square that I did was the null hypothesis of marijuana DUID traffic accidents are random in regard to dispensary locations. As you can see, I have another large result from the chi-square. Sorry. And so the degrees of freedom is 6, the alpha is 5, and I also rejected the null hypothesis. Since both chi-squares were rejected from the null hypothesis, I then had to create a Kramer V statistic, which is here, and it shows the strength of the relationship between the marijuana crimes and dispensary locations. The Kramer V's relationships are 0 indicating a very weak relationship and 1 indicating a very strong relationship. Both Kramer V's came out to a weak to moderate relationship between the marijuana crimes and traffic accidents. So even though it's not a strong relationship, it is still a relationship. Next, I decided to input another another factor into the analysis. So I decided to take median household income since it's assumed that lower incomes tend to have more crime. So I wanted to see if these hotspot areas were, in fact, low income and had high crimes. So this is my example of the American Community Survey data, which is from the U.S. Census Bureau. And it shows my hotspot and the median household income for 2011 overlaid to show where the income is and where the hotspot is. As you can see by the bar graph, there is a large percentage of the lower income in that region, but there is also a small percentage of large income in there. So it's not precisely to say that it's all small or low income that's in that region. I dissolved the hotspot analysis and then clipped it to the census stuff to find the percentage of areas and everything. My next graph shows my median household income for each year. So each class is the different income ranges. So class 1 is 0 to 40,000, class 2 is 40 to 65,000, and upwards to class 5, which is 150,000 and up to 250,000 and more. So as you can see in the dark green, 2011, the trends show that there is a large class, low income class in class 1. But if you noticed in class 5, years 2013 and 2014 have an increase in the amount of percent in the hotspot area. So, the conclusion. The results from the hotspot analysis show an upward trend from 2011 to 2014 in marijuana crimes and accidents, and a decrease in 2015. Without further analysis and other factors, and probably more data, I'm not really sure why that was. Then the chi-square and the crime show that there's a relationship between the crimes and dispensary locations. Even though the relationship with the marijuana crimes and dispensary locations is a moderate relationship, it's still a relationship. And then for the ACS median household income data, which is an overlay, I showed graphically the crime locations in areas of lower to moderate median household income. So the assumption that low income is predominantly surrounded by crime can be stated yes, but then there were also some random areas of higher income individuals that were in that region as well. So not 100% sure. I'm sure if I brought in other data, other factors. I also forgot to note that the reason why my ACS data was from 2011 to 2015 and not to 2014 is because the ACS data has not, the Census Bureau hasn't loaded the 2015 data yet, so I wasn't able to complete a correlation between the hotspot, my chi-square, and the ACS for 2015. I performed these analyses to look at a few things: marijuana crime near dispensary locations, to locate areas of higher marijuana crimes, and to see if only lower income households were in the primary locations of the hotspots. Although this was only an analysis, I think it could develop into a larger project, especially if more data was attributed to it, and could be created into something bigger since more states have now legalized marijuana. And I want to thank John and Jen for tremendously helping me with my project. Any questions? Gary. Yeah. Is it showing? That they're having close to the dispensaries, yeah. Yeah, I think it would be more likely a negative value. Greg. No, I didn't. That specific region is where the main city is at, and especially in the hotspot, that is the main hub of Denver. It's the biggest city. It's got stadiums. It's pretty much the Mecca. So that hotspot is very well populated. It's last estimated at like 655,000 people lived in that county alone, and growing. So, but I didn't factor in those populations into my analysis.
I'm just wondering if you could find like some more like specific hotspots, like there might actually be some more specific spots that are hot and cold,
Oh yeah, I'm sure there is.
population density, and how much other crime occurs there.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought about that. To make it simple, I just decided to do median household income, but doing like ages, like seeing what age range lives in that hotspot, how many people per household, their employment status, if they're employed or unemployed. I mean, there's an endless amount of data that I could have done. I just decided to do median household income because most people assume low income, more crime. So. Oop.
Did you look at all about violent crime as a marijuana use?
I was going to do violent crime. The problem with violent crime data is that it is a little bit difficult to get, especially certain crimes like murder, rape, and something else I can't remember at the moment. The data isn't exactly given out freely, especially if the investigation is still ongoing, if the victim is potentially at any kind of... So for my nonviolent crimes, I was able to actually get locations of where they were reported, whereas the violent crimes would be a little bit more difficult to find pinpoint of locations. So that's the reason why I didn't do violent crimes.
You noticed that non-violent crime
Mm-hmm.
speculation indicated that you have no reason to understand why that is. You have some speculation, or the police department, anybody have any speculation as to why there was a downward trend all of a sudden? Because it was pretty significant.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, I don't know. It might be because the data is skewed, as I said, from them changing their system constantly, their reporting system. Other than that, I don't really know because the laws didn't change. There wasn't an influx of like police or anything like that, so I'm not sure what the reasoning was, why. So the only thing I can think of is that there was an error in the data, or because there wasn't a significant amount of data that it could have factored in.
All right.